Welcome to the podcast. This podcast this morning is for all the women out there that are perfectionist. This is for you. So, the name of this podcast is Small Steps Lead to Huge Growth. Even for me, just right now, getting ready for this podcast, this microphone wanted to keep dropping. My webcam is not centered perfectly. And it was really just driving me crazy, quite frankly. And so I almost just said, forget it. Maybe why am I even doing this podcast this morning? But the reason I'm doing this podcast is that I hear from so many women out there that they won't get started because everything has to be perfect. And I just want to say to all of you women or men out there that think that you have to have everything figured out before you get started, that is a lie. I would just encourage you to think about what's the one or two steps that you can take today to get you started towards the goal. When I think about this podcast, I think about my daughter saying, Mom, just start. And my son, hey, you've been talking about this for a couple years now, and you're not doing anything about it. So then I thought, okay, what's the one step I could take? Okay, well, I got to get a name for the podcast. I got to get a logo. I have to have microphones and headsets and a podcast table and chairs. And then I need to figure out how to take my voice and combine it with sound. And then I need a wallpaper for the studio that I created. And guess what? I had created this whole podcast and I didn't even have a podcast. I didn't even know what I was going to say. But I started taking small steps, and I also started praying about it. And really, God led me to the next thing, right? And so all of a sudden I had a podcast, and I have had multiple episodes with some really cool people with disabilities who are really cool at, like, take Dayton Weber. He has no arms and no legs, and he's a cornhole champion. Or Sarah Hardwig, who is blind and plays guitar and sings with Low Cash. I've had some really cool people on my podcast. And so if I would never have gotten started, I would never have met all of those different people. So today, I just want to encourage women that you don't have to have it all figured out. Just start somewhere. Take the small steps towards what's meaningful for you in your life. I guess the other question I would ask is, what is it costing you? What's going to happen if you don't do those things? What's it going to look like a year from now if you don't make those or take those small steps? Because clearly this podcast is not perfect. I'm sitting here in my office and just thinking, what do I want to talk about today? But I want to encourage all of you that whatever it is, if it's important to you, if it's meaningful work, go for it. Just take the next step, and you'll be amazed at what might transpire from it.